Hi, you guys. Welcome to my channel, Life Lessons Learned. If you watched my previous video, you'll know that this video is for a mature audience, and that's because of the events that occurred during this particular experience. As you can see, I've said this person's, I'm going to call him Pete, who is a repeat offender, but of course, none of that was known at this time. So kind of keep that in mind. And during this time, I worked at an auto plant, but I know a lot of people think auto plants are noisy, loud, dirty, greasy, oily. I get it. This plant wasn't like that. This plant was more of an automated plant. So the machines did majority of the work, the heavy lifting, the storing, the um, moving things from one side of the plant to the other. And they prided themselves on being the cleanest and safest auto plant in in the US. Now, this was true at that time. This was years ago, so who knows? I'm sure Elon probably has an auto plant that does everything, and there's immaculate as heck. But it was a place that we were all proud to work at. Of course, the money was good and the benefits and all of that. And we were kind of like, I'd hate to say this, but like family. Whatever shift you worked on, you knew the people that were relieving you from your shifts, because you would see them coming and going. So we would say hi or good morning or good night or whatever the case may be. Now, at this particular time in my life, I worked the midnight shift. So we actually worked from 11 to 7, 11 to 8. So 11 p.m. to 8 in the next day, which is what I opted to do because that's what I opted. What can I say? So I worked nights in a plant that was nice and clean and, you know, really a good place to be. So as you can imagine, there weren't a lot of women at the plant, and I get it. Women work at plants too, but at this particular one, the ratio to men and women were it was not equal. I mean, I'm saying equal. I don't want to use that word because I'm not into the if you have to have the same amount of women as you do men, the same amount of blacks as you do whites, the same amount of fat people as you do skinny people. I mean, it gets really crazy. But you can understand that a plant is usually not an auto plant is usually more men than women. I'll just say that. Jeez, get myself out of trouble here. So at this particular plant, and remember, okay, I keep saying remember. Those who have watched my videos, you already know about me not dating people that I work with. I don't get my meat where I make my bread, okay? And that's for a lot of reasons. If things go sour, then one of you can wind up losing your job or getting called into HR, or both of you could. And it's just not a good thing. I'm not going to jeopardize my livelihood for trying to date someone. That's just me. I know a lot of people date folks that they work with and marry people that they work with, and or they all work at the same company. That's all well and fine. I just, again, do things for a standard of living or standards that I have for me, for myself in my life. I've already gone off track here. So on this particular um, night, and you can imagine if you work from 11 p.m. until 8 in the morning, your lunchtime usually is 3 or 4 hours after you've started. So you could go to lunch at 2 in the morning or 3 or whatever. And we were in an area where there were still some places that would be open, fast food places that served things through the drive-through. So it's not like you can go in and sit and eat, but at least you could go and get something to eat and come back. Or of course you could always have brought your lunch to work. So all of that was well and fine. Well, there was a guy that worked on a line that was probably two lines over from where my line was at, but we, like I said, we all knew each other. We're familiar with each other. I'll say that. And my lunchtime on this particular night was at 2 in the morning, and I hadn't brought anything for lunch for myself, so I was going to go out, grab something right quick. Well, as I'm not the only one leaving at 2. It's a group of us that are going out. So this guy asked what I was planning on, getting. I don't know if it was tacos or something. And he said he was going to get the same thing. And so he asked me if I would just be willing to ride with him so we both wouldn't have to get in our cars and use gas and time and all that. So I was like, cool, no problem. And so that's what we did. We went and got our order, and everything was fine. Then we got back to the plant parking lot, and we still had our lunch time, so we still had time that we were going to eat and everything. And this guy pulled a something out of left field on me for sure. Because I wasn't going to eat in his car. I was like, I don't mind riding with you to get the lunch, but I'm gonna go back to the cafeteria and and eat my lunch. So as I was about to open the door, he put the locks on. And I'm thinking, okay, what the hell? So he was like, I've been watching you from the other line, and I've been wanting to ask you out, and how it goes, da 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 da. And I was like, oh, that's really flattering, but I don't date people that I work with, and I didn't go into all the reasons why I don't do that. It's just not something that I do. So I kind of explained that to him, and it's like, thank you, but no, thank you. And then went to reach for the door again, and he still had the lock on. So I was like, oh, okay, what is this going to be like? And I turned to look at him because, he's the one driving. So I turned to look at him, and he's climbing out of his, well, not climbing, but he's like lunging over to my side, to the passenger side. And he's like almost half on top of me. And I'm like, what the hell? So I said, wait, you got me all wrong. You need to stop. And you can imagine, since I worked at a plant, we had these uniforms on. So it's not like you're dressing sexy at a plant, or you're wearing your hair down. You have to make sure that things that can't get caught in machines and all of that. So we wore our hair up, and we had these uniforms that were pretty much, that shirts would be this high. So, they were buttoned down, and then you had your pants that you had to wear, and of course your steel-toed boots, and all of that, what you would expect to be wearing. So I was like, oh, is this guy crazy or what? So I'm saying to him, you better unlock this door, and I'm going to tell your supervisor what's going on. And instead, he ripped the first two buttons off of my uniform. So I was like, okay, I don't know if this guy's been drinking before he decided to go out to lunch, or if he's just a damn fool. So I didn't want to panic or anything, but okay, I might as well just be honest here. Because we worked at the plant, depending on what line you would be on, what kind of tools you had. So I had a box cutter in my pocket because, I had to open up packages and stuff, and you have to have something sharp to do that. So I reached in my pocket and I grabbed it. And of course, had it come out, the blade come out. And I said, you need to open this damn door right now. And you better pray that I don't go to your supervisor. So the guy, of course, is shocked, but I'm sure he didn't know me well enough to know if I would cut his throat or not. So he unlocked the doggone doors, and I got on out of there. Now, remember, it's 2 in the morning. I'm in his car, supposedly going, to get something to eat. So while I'm going, like, not really running because I didn't want to run from him, but I'm like walking briskly to the back to the plant, and he's going, if you tell anybody, I'm going to tell them that you agreed to it, and da 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 da. The same thing women hear when to keep us quiet. Well, for me, and remember on my channel, I talk about life lessons learned, and lots of things that happen to us happen for one of three reasons. We either allow it, promote it, or create it. So this whole time I'm thinking, okay, which of these did I do? Did I create this situation? Did I promote it? I mean, what's going on? Because I should have just gotten in my own damn car, went to the doggone drive-through, got my lunch, and went back to the cafeteria. But anyway, so I got back, and a friend of mine, a female friend of mine, saw me, and she said, "Girl, how did you break your buttons?" And so I hate to say this, but I was too freaking embarrassed to tell her what had happened. I mean, like I said, it was 2 in the morning. We're going to lunch So I just said, "Oh, made some bullshit excuse about I don't know how the buttons got messed up." So we found me a pen, and I pinned it up. Now, my idea was to not say anything to anyone about that incident. And it wasn't to keep him from being in trouble because I, of course, was pissed at him. But I was like, I just didn't want the spotlight to be on me. But what were you guys talking about? What were you doing? What did he say? I was like, I'm not going to deal with any of that. And I didn't. Last forward to 2 weeks later, same plant, okay, same guy. Not with me, of course, because when I learn my lessons, I apply them and I don't repeat them. He But the friend of mine that I told you that worked at the plant that asked me what happened to my buttons, she came over to me and she said, "Girl, did you hear what happened to with Pete?" And I was like, "No." I'm thinking, I hope he hasn't told anyone what he did with me. And she said, he asked, we'll just say Mary. He asked Mary to go to lunch with him, and then he attacked her and tried to rape her. And then I said, "What?" And she said, let me say this because again, I don't do the whole racial thing. Okay. I just don't. But Pete was black and Mary was white. Okay. So we had all kinds of people that worked in the plant. I mean, this was a multicultural plant. If I ever seen it, you would have thought it was the Starship Enterprise. Okay. We had everything except a Klingon on it. So I said, "Are you kidding?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, no, he freaking didn't do that again." And now I'm thinking I wasn't the first one. Maybe he did that with other women. Who knows? But anyway, so as she's telling me this, she said, "And you know that heifer is just lying." She didn't say the heifer word. She said the B word. She said she thinks everybody want her, and just because he's tall and black and good looking, and a lot of women here want him, why would he do that? He wouldn't do that with her. A whole lot of folks would, kill to go out with him. You guys, I'm frozen. I'm like, okay, I have to tell you this, first of all. My morals in life are different from 99.9% of other people. I mean, I'll just say that. So for me, it, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So how you do the small things is how you do the big things. And so there was no way that I was going to not come forward. Now I have to. I mean, and it wasn't about taking up for another woman or anything, but with people saying she's not telling the truth and he said it's his word against hers. And this was, again, back in the day. So it wasn't like you had cell phones and people could really get the truth about things or text messages or any of that stuff. So I just looked at my friend and I said, "I have to tell you something, Audrey." Audrey's not her name. And she said, "What?" And I told her, oh, I should say this too. My role there at the auto plant was as a team leader. So a lot of people knew me. My entire shift, that third shift knew me. Um, so I was a team leader and I was also on the safety committee. So, if people got hurt or things like that, I would be one of the ones that they would contact and we would, get them to the nurse's station or see if they need to go out, that kind of thing. So it wasn't like, people didn't know me or they would say, "Yeah, she's a liar too." So I explained to her what happened, and her whole face fell, and she looked, I don't, not disappointed, but a look of despair because they're used to me being vocal and speaking up and speaking out and taking up for people, and so she was like, "I can't believe you never told anyone." And I said, I was embarrassed, and she said, "But you speak up for everyone here." And I said, "I know." I said, "But I just thought, it was a time deal, that he was, just a knucklehead." So she said, "Well, what are you going to do now?" And I said, "I'm going to have to go to the supervisor and to HR and to his supervisor and explain to them what happened with me." And she said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I was like, "It's not a matter of whether I want to do it or not. The matter is what's the right thing to do." So that's the first question I always ask whenever I find myself in situations where it could get pretty heavy or maybe not even benefit me. The thing isn't how do I protect me or how do I protect my pride or my ego or my embarrassment. The thing is, what is the right thing to do? And I make my decisions in life from that standpoint. And you'll hear about this later on when I tell the tale of someone that was really a legal issue where I had to turn someone in, but we'll get that's not neither here nor there. So I asked my line leader to, take over the line, and I went to my supervisor first because I was like, okay, because let's do this in the right chain of events. So I went to him. He was a male, and I told him I needed to speak with him about something. Now, in this plant, when you're speaking with supervisors and things like that, it was all glass, so people could see. You know, it's supposed to be like a transparent thing. So if you wanted to speak to a supervisor or a manager and they were available, you could see that they were available, and you could, they have this like open door policy where if there's something going on, you can always just go in and speak with them. Oh, you guys, that was like the worst. Oh, I can't say the worst conversation I've ever had, but that was the most. Do I want to use the word traumatic conversation? I said, I need to speak to you about, an issue that occurred with me. And, like I said, they all knew me. He was like, come on in, Sherry, what's going on? And I was also the plant negotiate plant negotiating person. So I was the one that was called into quell disputes and things like that. I mean, I'm trained in a lot of different areas and I love doing what I do, but now I'm the one that has to come forward. So I told him what had occurred. And I told him the reason that I was telling him is because now this person has allegedly did the same thing to someone else, and I can no longer be quiet. And I'm telling you, you guys, the same look on his face was what I saw my friend. He was like, "But you're the plant negotiator. You're the one that speaks up for everyone. Why didn't you say anything?" And I just looked at him and I said, "Mike," and that's not his real name. So, okay. I said, I was embarrassed. He said, embarrassed about what? I said, it was 2 in the morning. I was in his car. He said, it's 2 in the morning because that's your lunch. I mean, that's your normal lunchtime. But I said, Mike, look at the big picture. If, say, this were something that got blown out of proportion is in the newspaper, who in their right mind, who in their mind is going to say, oh, it was 2 in the morning, but it was her lunch hour? Most people are like, no, it was 2 in the morning and she was in his car. So I just didn't want to go there. But I told him that I needed to come forward and that I also needed to go to that person's supervisor. But of course, he said that wouldn't be me doing that, that he would do that. So he asked me if I were, of course, willing to make a statement. And yeah, I'm like, I'll make a statement. I'll get off video. I'll go to the news, whatever you guys need me to do, because maybe if I had said something before that, that event would not have happened with her. Now, I don't know that to be true, but sometimes we can prevent an event by opening our damn valves. But anyway, can't beat myself up about what this guy decided to do over and over again, or however many times he may have done it. So for that one, I can't really put that in the auspices of having a date because it wasn't a date. It was someone that we were going to lunch together. We worked together. We was just going to go get something quick to eat. So it wasn't like I've been seeing him or knew him or anything like that. And quite frankly, this is just me talking again because I'm the nerd dater. I'm like very cautious, very um, taking it slow and everything. So I'm thinking, was his plan to? I'm not going to even use that word, but to assault someone in his car during his lunch hour, and then what? We're both supposed to just go to work? I mean, some of this stuff, you guys, I'm like, what the hell? And I don't know what happened with the incident with him and that lady. Did she go back to the plant crying, or was her buttons also torn? I mean, how did she come to tell someone that that had happened? So, well, you already know how that story ended. I get called into HR 2 or 3 times. I have to tell the story 2 or 3 times. I guess they're trying to see if any of my s- um, versions are going to be different. They never were because when you're telling the truth, it's going to be the same. And they asked me if I knew the other lady. I didn't know her, so it wasn't like I was trying to take up for someone. Hello, and she didn't know me. Well, she knew me as the team lead, but she didn't. We didn't hang out or do anything like that. And then don't ask me why, and they probably don't do this today, but back then they had him coming to the supervisor's office with me at the same time. So I told about what happened and everything, and they wanted to see if he would dispute it. And I'm not saying that I'm some type of a saint at all, but he knew that with me, he wasn't, you know, he he knew that people would know that there would be no reason for me to have lied about this or made it up, or but there would be no benefit for me at all in this whole scenario. So, needless to say, he was first put on, not probation, but paid leave, because they have to go through everything and all of that. Um, and I want to say that they had cameras like on the perimeters of the parking lot, so they probably watched something with her and him. With me, there wasn't anything. Like I said, I'm just walking briskly back to my car. I'm not. I continued my work that night, so no one knew anything with me. But I'm not sure what happened. But he wound up, of course, getting fired. And I think at one point she was going to have litigation against the entire plant, but because somehow, she went willingly with them, and um, they were saying that they can't control the actions of all of their people. It was some kind of crazy stuff, because these corporations are not looking to pay money, even if something has been done that shouldn't have been. But that being said, I'm not saying that the company should have been responsible for his actions, but you do have a certain level of making sure that you're keeping your employees safe. So that was that. So that was one that I don't even think I've told too many people about that story, because again, it wasn't something I was planning on moving forward with or anyone ever knowing, but it happened. And the reason why I'm telling that is, as you can guess, other people may find themselves in that situation. And if you can just get to a point where you can say, not what's just right for me or what's right just for me, but stop at the right. What is right? And then start making some of your decisions and choices moving forward from that perspective. So, as you know, I say knowledge is in the knowing, but wisdom is in the doing. And I could have been quiet and silent with my own knowing that, yeah, he probably did it and not said anything. Or I could have taken the wisdom is in the doing, and doing means in the action. And so, in my actions, I had to go forward and tell what had occurred with me, and let them know that more than likely that event that this other person had, it was the same as scenario, you guys. He had her in the car, he locked the doors, he's attacking her. I'm like, is this guy a freaking nut job or what? So remember, the learning of a lesson is the application of it. So that being said, guess who didn't go out with people from work anymore when I was going to get something to eat? I didn't go to lunch with anyone. And sometimes it would be a group of people. They'd be like, no, Sherry, it's three or four of us. I'm like, and male and female. But I'm like, no, I just take my car, and that way I can get back and get what I'm going to get and come back and eat, and keep myself from any kind of situation that will wind up being a negative one, or one that has consequences at the end of it. And that being said, sometimes when you get a group of people in the car, whether they're teens or grown adults or something, and it's 2 in the morning, you never know if someone's been, you know, drinking on the job, and now they're the ones that's driving. And I can just avoid all of that by knowing my own standards and my own expectations, and just getting in my own car and doing what I needed to do. So this one was a bit of a heavy one, you guys, but if I'm going to be sharing experiences, they need to be experiences where people can ap- learn something from and apply some lessons to, and know that it's not all, a bed of roses. So that's the story of when I worked in a plant. And I don't know whatever happened to that guy. If did she press charges? I know he lost his job, but I'm really don't think he did any jail time or anything like that. Again, you have to remember, this was back in the day when, and this definitely was never acceptable, but the rules were different. Let's just say that, than they are today. Okay, I will see you guys on the next run. And on that one, I think I'm going to actually share with you all when I actually fell in love from my online dating experience. Now, that being said, keep in mind the old Spinner song, Love Don't Love Nobody. So we'll hear that tale later. Thanks. Bye.